Story 3. My wife had plastic surgery recently. We had discussed it and I was against it. It was not my decision and ultimately I had no say. She looks weird now. She had the fat sucked out of her face, lip fillers, a neck lift, other stuff I don't really get. She gives me uncanny valley vibes now. It freaks me out. She is fully healed now and she wants us to go back to normal. Like me initiating sex. I have done so but not as much as I used to. And when I do I try and make sure there is very little light. It's been a few months and I kind of dread having to look at her. Obviously she has noticed. She has been bugging me to tell her what's up. I've tried telling her I'm just tired from work. Or that I'm run down. Really anything except for the truth. She broke down and asked me if I was having an affair. I said that I wasn't. She asked to look at my phone. I unlocked it for her and handed it over. I wasn't worried about her finding anything because there is nothing to find. She spent an hour looking through it and found nothing. She asked me to explain why I changed. I tried explaining that I just wasn't that interested right now. Nothing I said was good enough for her. She kept digging. I finally told the truth. I wasn't harsh or brutally honest. I just told her that her new face wasn't something I found attractive and that I was turned off. She asked if that's why I turn off all the lights now. I said yes. She started crying and said that she needed time alone. She went to stay with her sister. I have been called every name in the book since this happened. Her sister said I'm a piece of shit for insulting my wife's looks. Her friends all think I'm the asshole. I tried not to say anything. I can't force myself to find her attractive. I still love her, but her face is just weird now. She looks like the blue alien from The Fifth Element. My wife came home yesterday and we finally had a long talk. She told me that the reason she had the surgery was because her mom and sister talked her into it. They convinced her that she was starting to look old and that I would find someone else to be with if she did not do something. That was why her mom gave her the money for the operations. Her mom and sister look like Bruce Campbell in Escape from LA. They are the very last people on the planet that should be telling anyone to get plastic surgery. I used some of the comments I read on my post as talking points. I told her that I loved her and that she was the person that I wanted to spend my life with. I told her that the surgery would take a while longer to settle down and that as I got more used to her new face I would learn to appreciate it. She asked me if I wanted her to see if she could get it reversed. I almost screamed at her. The last thing in the world I want is for her to fuck up her face more than it already is. I asked her if she could please just leave it and let me get used to it. We talked for about 3 hours and we decided that her mom and sister would not be a part of any decisions in our life going forward. She is going to leave her face alone and give me a chance to get used to it. We are going to look for a marriage counselor and maybe individual counselors for each of us. I am going to make an effort to show her every day how I still find her desirable and she is going to make an effort to believe me when I tell her I love her the way she is. We are going to talk to her mom and sister and tell them that we are taking a break from them. We are going to block them and get our shit together before we allow them back into our lives. Thank you to everyone who tried to help me. I would like to add that I did not think there were that many guys out there with a weird blue squid lady fetish. It isn't for me, but you do you. Story 2. Last week I had time and stopped into a thrift and they were just putting out stuff from their truck. I am never so lucky to be there when that happens. The shops are always very picked over with just Old Navy or Target clothes whenever I can go, so I was happy I might find something. I started browsing normally and was finding some good stuff for once, then I saw a group of 3 women come in. One had a little computer for scanning books, the other 2 had iPads or something, I assume to check resale prices? Either way they were clearly resellers and started grabbing stuff after checking labels. I felt a sense of dread because I wouldn't be fast enough to check, so I just swooped everything off the rack and into my cart in my size. When the 2 got to me they started staring. I said, what? And one was like, we'd like to be able to see what's on the rack too. I said that they could as soon as I was done. She scoffed at me and said, that's rude, we'd like a chance to shop these clothes too. I just ignored her and started looking at things one by one, taking my time, then putting them right back on the rack. The women were getting mad and snatching things basically out of my hand. I held up a nice top and one of them tried grabbing it out of my hand and I said excuse you and turned my back to her. They got all pissy and one stomped away to get a worker. The worker came over and asked what was going on. I said I was looking at the items from the rack, same as anyone else. They said I was hoarding everything so they couldn't get a chance to look. The worker said that I wasn't doing anything wrong and then said to me, thank you for putting everything back when you're done. I finished what I was doing with the women breathing down my neck and took my clothes to go try on. One of them kept following me and asked me what the fuck my problem was, why I was being such a bitch, etc. I said sorry that you're having a bad day, but it's really not my problem. AITA? I just wanted the chance to be able to find nice clothes for once. From my POV, I didn't do anything different than people who fill up their carts and go try on everything. Plus I didn't even take all of the good clothes to begin with. Long-time listener, first-time caller, so be gentle, please. My wife, 50, of 7 years insists on having priority above my children, M, 21, and F, 25, from a previous marriage. She believes any considerations relating to them are subordinate to hers. I, 52, however, consider all parties as priorities, just in different ways. Both kids study, my daughter lives away, but my son has moved back to finish his degree and also works part-time. This was agreed upon as he needed support and an environment conducive to study where he didn't have to work full-time. My wife feels that after leaving home kids should basically fend for themselves. I agree with this to a degree, but feel that as you brought them into the world, your responsibility as a parent does not end there. Obviously, the amount of support needed reduces over time, but I always considered I'd be available to provide any support required at any stage of their lives, whether emotional, financial or simply physically helping them. My wife has no children, not a conscious decision, but is critical of people, including her own family, who provide support to their adult children. For example, one of her family married into an Asian family and is often criticized for doing too much for their kids. My standpoint is that it's not your business if they're not your kids. If you must buy into the conversation, consider that the parents are gaining as much as the kids via the act of giving. My wife finds the mere presence of my son exasperating and considers his domestic habits subpar. He is certainly not perfect, but for a young single male, he is about 80% there. I let a lot of minor domestic transgressions slide, simply attributing them to family living when the last of the milk gets drunk, peanut butter gets eaten, or a door gets left open, all quite insignificant stuff, IMHO. FWIW, living with her is like living in a museum. The house always looks great, but it's neither a comfortable nor relaxing existence. On the topic of household duties, I do all external chores, all grocery shopping, and cook 5+ nights per week. As a couple, we are at an absolute impasse, and are now in separate rooms since last month, with sex on the decline for several years and at 0 for the last 5 months. She declines to discuss the issue further, simply stating that she's heard it all before and they should be my absolute priority. Moving forward, a major concern is that I will be restricted from helping them financially as our finances are shared. Similarly, the time I will be afforded to spend with them and any potential grandchildren will also be scrutinized. My gut tells me I would derive much more personal growth and fulfillment as a parent and grandparent than as a husband.